Why is it that so many men spend their entire lives chasing women, only to feel like they're constantly being overlooked, rejected, or worse, treated like an option rather than a priority? Think about it. How many times have you gone out of your way to impress a woman you were interested in? Maybe you dressed nicer than usual, spent more money than you could afford, or tried to say all the right things, only to watch her interest fade away like morning mist? The truth is, there's a fundamental disconnect between what men think women want and what actually creates genuine attraction. You were taught that impressing women is the path to their hearts. Show off your accomplishments, flex your status, demonstrate your value at every turn. But that approach has become a prison that keeps you locked in an exhausting performance, never feeling like you're enough, always chasing external validation that never truly satisfies. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you felt truly seen by someone you were attracted to? Not for what you could provide, not for how you could entertain them, but for who you actually are? Pause. Let that sink in. The real irony is that the harder you try to impress women, the less impressive you become. It's a paradox that frustrates millions of men. You think you're doing everything right, following the conventional wisdom, yet somehow women seem more distant, more unattainable than ever. And if you're anything like I was, you probably swing between two equally ineffective extremes. Either you become the try-hard, bending over backwards to gain her approval, texting first, always being available, picking up the tab without question, or you overcompensate with indifference, playing it cool to the point of emotional unavailability, afraid that showing genuine interest will somehow diminish your value in her eyes. Both approaches miss the fundamental truth of attraction. Both keep you trapped in a cycle of frustration and disappointment. So what's the answer? It's not about impressing her at all. The men who truly captivate women's attention, who become objects of fascination rather than just another option, they understand something profound about human connection. They know that obsession doesn't come from admiration. It comes from curiosity, from mystery, from the magnetic pull of a man who exists in his own reality and invites others to join him there. Think about the last time you became obsessed with something or someone. It wasn't because they were constantly seeking your approval. It was because they represented something you couldn't quite figure out, something that challenged you, something that made you want to know more. That's the secret. When you stop trying to impress women and start embodying your own authentic purpose, everything changes. Your energy transforms, your presence shifts. Instead of asking, will she like me? You start asking, do I like her? Instead of wondering, how can I keep her interested? You consider, is she adding value to my life? This fundamental shift in perspective is what separates the men who struggle with women from those who become magnetic to them. Let me break this down into 3 concrete principles that will revolutionize your dating life. First, understand that genuine attraction is never about what you do for her. It's about how you make her feel about herself when she's with you. When you're constantly trying to impress, you're actually creating emotional distance. You're positioning yourself as the performer and her as the audience. But real connection happens when you're both active participants in something meaningful. So instead of telling her about your accomplishments, ask about hers. Be genuinely curious. Listen, not just to respond, but to understand. When you make someone feel seen and heard, you create a type of intimacy that flashy displays of status can never achieve. Second, embrace the power of selective vulnerability. The strongest men aren't afraid to show their humanity. They don't hide behind a facade of perfection or pretend to have it all figured out, but there's a crucial distinction here. Selective vulnerability means sharing your authentic experiences, fears, and dreams from a place of self-awareness, not neediness. It means being honest about your journey, including the struggles, while demonstrating that you're actively growing through them. When you can talk about your failures as confidently as your successes, you display a level of self-acceptance that is profoundly attractive. It gives her permission to be human too, to remove her own mask. And third, perhaps most importantly, you need to live a life that excites you independent of any woman's validation. This isn't about playing games or feigning disinterest. It's about having genuine passion and purpose that exists, whether she's in the picture or not. When you're fully engaged with your own life, pursuing goals that matter to you, nurturing friendships that fulfill you, developing skills that challenge you, you naturally become more attractive. You bring energy and excitement into her world rather than looking to extract it from her. Think about it this way. Would you rather be around someone who's constantly seeking your approval or someone who invites you into an already rich and meaningful existence? The answer is obvious. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds great in theory, but how do I actually implement this in my life? Fair question. Start by taking a brutal inventory of your current approach to dating. How much of your behavior is motivated by a desire to impress? How often do you compromise your authentic self to gain approval? Where are you performing rather than simply being? Be honest with yourself. This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. Then commit to a simple but powerful shift in your interactions with women. Instead of trying to be impressive, be interested. Instead of seeking validation, offer understanding. Instead of performing, participate. This doesn't mean becoming passive or abandoning initiative. It means approaching connection from a place of genuine curiosity rather than insecurity. Ask questions that matter, listen to understand, not just to respond. Share your perspective without attachment to her agreement. And perhaps most importantly, be willing to walk away from connections that don't serve you, that don't reciprocate your energy, that don't appreciate your authentic self. That willingness to walk away, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a genuine expression of self-respect, is paradoxically what makes you most attractive. Because here's the truth that transformed my own dating life. The moment you stop chasing approval is the moment you become truly worthy of attention. When you're no longer consumed by how she perceives you, you free yourself to be fully present. And presence, real, undistracted, engaged presence, is increasingly rare and incredibly magnetic in today's world. I've seen this pattern play out countless times. Men who spent years struggling with dating, constantly trying to impress, constantly being overlooked, suddenly finding themselves the object of intense interest when they finally embraced their authentic selves and stopped performing for approval. The transformation isn't always immediate. Old habits die hard. But when it happens, it's undeniable. You'll know it's working when women start asking about you when you're not around, when they make excuses to be near you, when they remember the small details of your conversations, when they seem genuinely disappointed if you have to end an interaction. These are the signs not just of attraction, but of the beginning of obsession, the healthy kind that comes from genuine fascination with who you are, not what you can provide. So let me challenge you. For the next week, try this approach. Stop trying to impress. Instead, focus on being present, authentic, and genuinely interested. Share your real thoughts, not what you think she wants to hear. Pursue your own passions with renewed energy. Set boundaries with confidence. Then watch what happens. Watch how differently women respond to you. Watch how the dynamic shifts from you chasing to them pursuing. Watch how your own anxiety around dating begins to dissolve. Because the ultimate irony is this: when you truly stop trying to make her obsessed with you, that's precisely when she becomes unable to get you off her mind. Not because you've manipulated her, not because you've played games, but because you've shown her something increasingly rare in today's world. A man who knows his worth, who lives with purpose, and who offers connection without neediness. That's the man who doesn't need to chase. That's the man who naturally attracts. That's the man who creates not just interest, but obsession. And the best part, becoming that man doesn't require you to be someone you're not. It requires you to be more authentically who you already are. So stop trying to impress her. Start impressing yourself. The rest will follow. And that's the simple truth that will transform not just your dating life, but your relationship with yourself. The question now is, are you ready to let go of the performance and embrace your authentic power? The choice is yours.